Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Beauty Biz Pro podcast. I am
Good morning.
super excited for today's topic because we're going to be switching gears a little bit outside of PMU and permanent makeup and brows, and we're going to switch gears to SMP or scalp micropigmentation. Now, I'm joined today by the amazing Anna James. She is out of Australia,
What's
and
up?
what really caught my eye was you focus a lot on the female SMP side of it, along with the male SMP side of it. So, with
Yeah.
that being said, Anna, take it away a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, so I'm Anna or AJ. Everybody knows me as AJ because no one can get my accent. So I'm Canadian, but obviously I live in Australia. So I've been here like 11 years. So people can never get my accent. So they think I'm saying Emma and Edda. So it's AJ. We'll just
Awesome.
go by AJ. So I am an SMP specialist. I've been doing SMP over 5 years now. I got my start into the beauty industry. I wanted to do lashes and brows. I'll get into the story about that. We can. It's actually
Please do, please do.
it's such a funny story, but yeah, I started with lashes and brows, and just by the universe and my guardian angels was led to SMP. So now I'm an SMP specialist. I strictly do scalps, and I am a trainer and mentor as well.
Nice, nice, nice. So, take us back in time. How did you even like, what inspired you to go from brows to SMP? Like, what was that
Well,
inspiration?
well, Tony, I never actually got started in brows because
Never
so
got
I
started.
so what happened was I was going through the most crazy time in my life ever. Like I call it my early life crisis. I don't like to say midlife because that assumes you're not going to live very long. But so I was going through a really crazy time, and I just needed a change in career. I was a travel agent, so I wanted to do lashes and brows. So I took a lash and brow course. It was like a two-in-one combo that was 3 days long. So you can imagine what I learned.
Mhm.
Absolutely
Yep.
nothing.
Yep.
And yeah, I just left just not confident at all, and I needed more training. So I waited about 6 months or so, and then finally I booked in some more training to learn eyebrows because I thought it was incredible. I wanted to learn it. Me being me, I went to my eyebrow training on the wrong day. So the day that I showed up for my microblading training, they were actually tattooing a guy's head when I walked in the door. So I showed up to a microblading training, and they were doing SMP
Wow.
training instead. Yeah. So they were doing SMP training, and I was like, what is going on? What is that? And they were like, you were meant to be here yesterday. Today we're actually doing SMP training. And I was like, that is it. That right there is for me. So it was like the universe just guiding me exactly where I needed to be. That's how I got into SMP. I was like hooked immediately. So I was driving home thinking, that guy's bald, that guy's bald, my uncle's bald, like everybody's missing. Oh my God, like my mom's hair's thinning, like, yeah, and just ran with SMP from that moment. So yeah,
Nice.
that's how I got into it. And I never ended up doing eyebrows or lashes.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. No, that is the true meant to be.
yeah, it
How
really
did
is.
you,
Yeah.
so like, how did you, okay, so you took the course, got the training,
Yeah.
then how did you get started? Like, how did you get your first few clients? What did that look like?
So back in the day when I started doing SMP, there was only two trainers in the country. I had $0 to my name. I had to max out my credit card to be able to afford my SMP training. So the way that I had to get started initially was just free, free,
Mhm.
free ways. So I actually started working from my dining room. This table actually is where I started working illegally, of course, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I had my little dining room set up. It was so legit though. They're facing the TV. I had everything was sanitized. I had my little foldable bed. I was like, yeah, let's go. So I actually started looking on Facebook Marketplace. So
Mhm.
Marketplace and Facebook beauty groups. And that's probably where I came across Jake back in the day was the Facebook beauty groups, right? So
Mhm.
looking
Mhm.
for ways to get clients, how to market, get
Mhm.
clients, started joining these beauty groups. And in Melbourne, actually, there's two or three big ones. There's like 20, 30, 40,000 people in these beauty groups looking for people to give them services for cheap or for free. So I just put in there, hey, hair loss treatment, you know, like speaking to what it is. I find when you try to get too technical, people, I don't know what that is. So hair loss treatment, male and female treatments available. And that's how I got my first 10 models straight off the bat, was Facebook beauty groups. Yeah.
That is brilliant. And I think a lot of people sleep on groups, especially like support groups, hair loss groups.
Get in there.
Like
Yeah.
I, even in our studio, I know you didn't get into brows, but you know, my wife does brows and I love to go after like, I don't, have you ever heard of the term trickle tail anemia? This is the hair pulling
Yes.
disorder.
Yes. Yes.
And that's killer for individuals who are looking to start their brow business. There's so many trickle tail anemia support groups.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Same with us. It'd be like alopecia and
Yeah.
even for us, like PCOS, women's hair loss, like, you know, hormonal things, new moms. Like, you
Hmm.
know, there's
Hmm.
so many different groups that you can get a part of. And when you're actually a part of a group and having a service that people really need, like it just builds trust for your business. So
Oh,
there's
oh,
ways,
absolutely.
there's ways if you're
Ye-
proactive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're not selling, hey, I offer SMP services. It's a
What's
hair
SMP?
loss treatment.
What's SMP? Like make it, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And then when you try to spell it out like scalp micropigmentation, like, okay, you're speaking rocket science to me. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love the fact that you're not selling the service, you're selling the end result.
Exactly. Which is what people are after. They don't care about your service or your business. They care about how you can help them at the end of the day. So,
Yes. So
yeah.
so fast forward your first year, how many clients
Yeah.
do you think you took your first year?
So my first year, when I finally got started, it was a bit of an up and down. The first few months, I just laid super, super low. I didn't even post anything. I was just working on my business in the background. I actually started off called Inked by AJ. So
Okay.
Inked SMP is like the global brand of the last 5 years of expansion and everything, but it was Inked by AJ, just me in a little room.
Hmm.
So the first few months, you know, I was just getting those models done and getting my content, building my skills. I didn't even care about making money. I just
Hmm.
wanted to break even on my costs. But we actually ended up going into lockdown within my first maybe 6 months as an artist. So I don't know if you guys have followed Australia's lockdown, but Melbourne was next level. Okay, so
Yeah.
we were locked down. We had a curfew. We could only go outside in groups of two. It was like the Handmaid's Tale. It was so bizarre. So
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
so weird. So we weren't allowed to do absolutely anything. Like our government was like on to us. So yeah, we went into lockdown within my first 6 months as an artist, but I took that time to practice my skills, to build my business, build my website. Again, still didn't have much money, but
Mhm.
yeah, in my first year as an artist, it was up and down, and then it just exploded at the end of the first year as an artist. Yeah, the first few months, I was lucky to get a client paying $500 for a full head, you know, because this was so new back then. It was
Uh-huh.
like you have to take the baby steps, you know, you can't just
Yeah.
come out and expect to. Now we charge $3,500, $4,000 for a full head of SMP. Back then I was charging $500, $100 a session. Like I just didn't care. I just wanted to get the experience at the end of the day. So yeah, my first 6 months or so was real, real slow. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, like I said, it just exploded at the end of lockdown because I was behind the scenes working on my marketing and my business. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that, another thing that strikes a chord with me with you is, you really focus on your business. And now
Mm,
fast forwarding to today, you have your training, your training
yeah.
academy online, in person. Then you have your full school community where you
Yeah.
discuss business building in, the SMP field, which is massive.
Yeah.
That's a massive value.
It is.
So, and by the way, while we're on that school subject, what is the name of your school platform?
SMP school.
SMP. There you go. SMP School. And by the way, for those of you watching, school is spelled SKOOL. So
Yeah.
SMP School. Love it, love it, love it. So, what's one big mistake you made in the beginning? Like, how did you mess up? Time to be a little vulnerable. How did you mess up?
So skills wise or business wise, which one? Because I've
Business.
done a
Business.
lot. So, business wise for myself, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made, and this is ongoing, like I'm
Mhm.
always investing in consulting. I believe you have to spend money to make money. So, because I grew so fast in SMP, so just to put in some context, I had my first year during lockdown. They actually allowed us to take out the equivalent of like I don't know what's called in America, but like your retirement savings, right? So
Yep,
they
yep, yep,
allowed us to
yep.
take out up to $10,000 of our retirement savings tax free. So I did that and I invested all of it into marketing. So during COVID lockdown, when everyone's at home, they're seeing my ads. No one else was advertising on Facebook at this time. So they're seeing my ads on Instagram and Facebook. Hey, I can help you with your hair loss. Hey. And I didn't have much content at this point or much experience.
Mhm.
So by the time that lockdown was over, I had 20 or 30 people locked in with deposits ready to go. Right. So I immediately started working 2 clients a day, 7 days a week for months and months in advance, like booked out for ages in advance, and then grew to another team member, and then another
Mhm.
team member, another team member. Da, 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 da. So now we've got 5 artists in my Melbourne studio and an international training academy. Now, I've been doing this just under 6 years. So when you grow that fast, that quickly, and
Mhm.
start making a lot of money, you're not keeping track of the money. Okay. You're just like, you see it come in and you're like, oh, I'm making this, I'm going on holiday, I'm doing this. My artists are making ridiculous money. Like, we're killing it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep,
But you're
yep.
not actually budgeting, okay? You're not budgeting, you're not keeping on track of your expenses. Have no idea how much I'm spending on marketing because I was in a position where I could afford to try different things, okay? I'm doing TikTok,
Mhm.
I'm doing Google, I'm doing this. Oh, I don't like this company, I'll try this company. So, not budgeting and not having a clear idea of my finances, and also not having my team on a
Mhm.
correct payment scale. Like, these guys are making so much money, which is awesome, but from a business standpoint, needed to rein that in a little bit and have it a little bit more controlled, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I
yeah.
think that's a huge mistake a lot of people make when they first start getting that success. Like, oh, I could afford it. Oh, I'll get another client. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. But one thing I want to touch back on and circle back on is you made the comment about how when you were in COVID, everybody else pulled their marketing away and you kind of down to say.
Put it down. Yes, yes.
And what's interesting, every year around the same time, now you guys are going into your summer solstice, right? Okay, you're going to summertime, but you still have, do y'all celebrate like the holidays over there?
Like Christmas and
Yeah.
like, yeah, of course, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So, so with that being said, going here, stateside, a lot of artists are saying, you know what, it's the holidays, people are slow. I'm not going to market right now. I'm not going to
Oh,
market right now. I'm like,
busiest
oh my
time.
God, you're missing the biggest opportunity of your
Busiest
life.
time. The busiest
Yes.
time.
It's
Can be. And
absolutely the busiest time. Even in our studio, we actually doubled our ad budget the next two, three, started last month, the next 3 months we doubled it.
yeah,
But our books are full till almost February.
yeah, it's amazing.
And it's because everybody else is pulled out of the market.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that side of it. So what's one big, I guess, business tip you can give an individual that, is, for example, I'll just say this. My wife actually looked into getting to SMP. What is one business tip she should look at? Like, what is one thing she should do before she gets started to make sure she's successful outside of marketing from like an artist standpoint?
From an artist standpoint, is just know that SMP is different from other sorts of cosmetic tattooing and that because it is an emotional buy. So it's a
Mhm.
high ticket item where like our minimum is going to be $3,000 or more. So it's
Mhm.
almost a different thought process and it's multiple sessions. So understanding the SMP client process and how they process it and the hair loss and going through all of that is huge. Like your consultations with the SMP is huge, but also knowing that it's a layering process. So this is thousands of tiny dots. This takes like, and understanding the curve of the head, and it's layering in different shades and different pressures. And like, so it's a little bit of a different hand control, but absolutely anybody can learn with the right pre-study
Mhm.
skills and ongoing mentoring. But just know it's a different sort of it's just a different business at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
There is
And
so much opportunity though. If you're already doing something else in the same
mhm.
industry, to add on SMP, I believe there is so much opportunity. Like, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm excited you said that because I was actually at a probably one of the world's largest PMU conferences there, and there's a gentleman that went on stage and talked about SMP and things like that.
Matt
And
Iola,
what was that?
Matt Iola, Scalp Micro
Yes,
USA. Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Eh,
I was just at their conference.
Okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. So, but I was so I'm the observer in these in the when I go to these conferences. I spoke at Vegas PMU conference with Jake this past year, but I'm an observer when I come to these conferences and I listen to what other artists are saying around. And I overheard like 4 or 5 individual artists say, all of this is just a couple dots on someone's head. Like there's not, I don't need to take
Uh,
training for it. I don't need to do this, don't do that. And I'm sitting there thinking like, I know there's more to it than just placing a dot.
of course.
And
Well, I
that's the
post results on my page all the time, like of other people just being like, yeah, it's just dots. You can see when someone thinks it's just dots, the result that comes through. And you can see when someone actually is an expert in these. These are like bougie dots. These are not your
yeah.
average dots. There's thousands of like perfectly placed individual dots. It's like
Yeah.
you have to understand the scalp is different thicknesses all over, and you have to move with the curve of the head. To
Hmm.
get a realistic result, you need training. You actually do. Like,
And that's
yeah.
that's what's interesting. So and I typically don't do this on podcast, but talk to me about your training. Like what could somebody expect from your online training? And
Yeah.
what would you say, whether it's your training or somebody else's training, what should they walk away with? Like, what is that one thing like, you took a crappy training if you didn't walk away without this?
Well, you know
But
you took a crappy training if you didn't get to work on a model, first of all. Like, just come.
bingo.
Oh my goodness, the amount. So I actually was just at the meeting of Minds SMP conference in New York. So I was
Okay.
a key speaker there, and I won Best Artist International for. Um,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. So we had a huge talk about training and what's missing in the industry, and yeah, there's so much to it, but basically a good training should start with pre-study. Okay, you can't just go into a training with no idea. When I did my original brow training, we literally went into the classroom and she's like, here's a stencil. I'm like, how? Like, I don't
Mhm.
know what you mean. How do I do a hair stroke? Like, there was no pre-information. So my training involves completing my online course. So this took me a year to do this online course. I didn't just slap it together. It's over 100 modules. It's videos, absolutely everything that I have learned. I've done 7 SMP trainings. I'm an accredited trainer. Like it's everything that I have learned put into an online course. So that's step one. So regardless of your experience with tattooing, you have to complete that because I have my own methods of pigment dilution. I do everything a very specific way. And then
Mhm.
step two is your hands-on. So it's observation and then it's hands-on with models. So we do 2 models. You do the bald and the hair thickening, male, female hair thickening. Make no mistake, it's 2 different treatments and you can F up a density treatment.
Really?
Just because
I wanted to ask you, like, so I was looking at your Instagram and I was like, that seems a lot easier than just doing regular SM.
it's actually people find it harder because you have to move the hair and it's actually 2 or 3 times more work than a bald head. And it's just a different method. I had to learn it the hard way. So 2 different models, and then after that, it's mentoring. So continuing on your education, having access to your trainers
Mhm.
and a community that you can lean on for support and encouragement. And yeah, so that's where SMP school comes in. But I
That's
would say
interesting.
to be a multi-step process, no matter what you're doing, you should come out excited to get your business started, not feeling like you don't even know how to draw a hairline.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget when my wife approached me about even getting into permanent makeup. She's like, "Hey, I want to take this weekend course." I was like, "All right, cool. No problem. How much is it?" $3,000. I'm like, "How many days is it?" She's like, 2.5. I'm like, "Come again? For what?" And she left that course by mind you, by one of the top perceived trainers in our area. And she
Yeah.
had a million and one questions. And that's where I'm like, now I'm like, no, like I feel
Yeah.
like I love the fact, and what really sparked my interest was you said 100 modules. That tells me
Yeah.
you go really in depth with every step of the
Oh, it's
process.
extra. I've had people, so I work with highly experienced PMU trainers. Like I've got
Mhm.
a lady in my, I do two different classes, beginners, that's 4 days, and then
Mhm.
advanced. So people who already have experience in tattooing and PMU, that's a 2 day class. Regardless, they have to complete my online course. But I have a lady who's been doing PMU training for 20 years, taking my advanced class. She's been an SMP trainer for 6 years. It's like, there's so much more to it than just tattooing, you know? The
Mhm.
background knowledge, if you have that background knowledge, like you're unstoppable. That's what I think. So I took a lot of time to do this online course, and then now it's available for anybody to learn from, not just my students. So people from all over the world take my online course to improve their skills and to learn SMP from scratch. One of our students
That is,
has won 3 awards this year. Another one just won a gold award for best SMP artist in New York. Like, I really just love the details behind the treatment because
mhm.
I my original training was dead basic, So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
knowing what I know now, like how awesome you can be from the get-go if you have that extra information. I don't like gatekeeping. I hate
Yeah,
gatekeepers.
yeah, I hate I'll be honest with you. The only thing, like, even in our company, like the only thing we gatekeep is our target audiences because that's our magic sauce.
Yeah,
But
you're like, come on, your own.
yeah, but I don't gatekeep how to design an ad. I don't gatekeep what the ad should say. I don't like all that. The reality is, have you ever heard of the 80/20 rule? Have you ever heard of
Tell
that?
me about it.
20% or 80% of the market in your industry is run by 20% of the business owners, meaning
Okay.
there's only 20% of any industry that's really being dominated by all the business owners. So like let's say we have 100 SMP artists. There's
Yeah.
only really 20 of them that are successful. So you
Mm.
may feel like you're in a saturated market. You're really not because the others aren't doing anything. Like they're not.
So true. Or you think they are. And I like to say comparison is the thief of joy. So
Yep.
regardless of what someone else is doing, someone can open an SMP studio right next to it. Actually, they did. One of my students that I mentored, I helped her get her first location, which was my old shop, which is down
Hmm.
the road from me. So like she is literally down the road from me and she's actually smashing it. But I'm still busy. She's still busy.
Hmm.
We've got our own clientele. We've got our own vibe. People go for different reasons. There's always a client for you. Every student that I train, they're going to bring a different energy and a different something and a different network to be able
For
to
sure.
reach new people. So it's like, just got to get out of your own head and stop comparing yourself to what other
Yeah.
people are doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people if I'm like, it's funny because on our webinars, we do this cheesy little thing where we ask people, who here would like to know who their biggest competitor is? And then we tell people to go to Amazon.com, type in handheld mirror and click order. And now you have this.
I love that. I love it. I always say that too. Your biggest compet in your own the
Yes.
biggest fear is your own mind.
Yep, 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 yep.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are listening, if you want to check out more of AJ's trainings, things of that nature, this is actually her Instagram account, inked_SMP. It's really killer, and you'll be able to contact her there. But talk to me about, let's say I'm an artist struggling. Talk
Yeah.
to me a little bit about your school platform. Is that just anybody can join or
Yeah.
community? I'm just getting started. I want to poke around. Is that what that's for?
Yes, school is like my baby right now. So that is literally like my my love for the industry type of thing. So what it actually is it's myself and our lead artist Corey. We're on
Mhm.
there every single week doing live Zooms with our community. So these Zooms are anywhere from 1 to 2 hours. Like everyone can hop on and chat and talk about their experiences. Plus, it's a community for you because as an artist, once you leave your training, it can be really lonely, really isolating. You're in a room by yourself. You're like, how you've got questions. So, our school platform is open to any artist, experience new, aspiring, even just thinking about getting into the SMP industry, you want some information. It's a place for people to have their work critiqued positively
Yep.
critiqued and be supported. It came about why it is open to everybody because I'm in a few SMP groups on Facebook, and some of these groups are like cutthroat, like the the critiques and like feedback is just not helpful whatsoever. It's actually just mean. Like, this
Yep.
isn't helping the person, it's just shitting on their work. Like, imagine that was you as a new artist and you were proud to ask for help for something, and everyone's just shitting on you and complaining about you and saying, "Oh, your trainer should be," like, it's just not helpful. So it's a supportive community for people to come, get some advice, and we also really focus on the business growth. So starting a business, consultations, sales, just uplifting stuff, celebrating wins, how to charge more, how to,
Yep.
just having friends in your corner, basically. So that's what it's for. It's not just our students, it's people from all over the world are in that
Love
group,
it.
just looking for a sense of community. Yeah, to grow together. Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. So we'll have it down in the chats, a link to our school community for y'all to join. But AJ, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It was truly awesome having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, awesome. And if someone wants to shoot you an email, what's your email?
And you can just send it to info@inkedsmp.com.au. It's INKD, no E.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, AJ, for joining, and see you all in the next podcast.